In this video I'm going to be sharing with you some autumnal, witchy, spooky, gothic, romantasy fiction books for you, and some of these books I have read and I'm currently reading, and others are on my list to be read. So do get yourself a nice hot drink, settle back, relax and enjoy. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome for the first time if you are new here as well. I hope that you're well today and that you're enjoying fall or autumn as we refer to it here in England, as I'm sure many of you know already. So I absolutely love this time of year. It's no secret. I think most witches and magical people and pagan folks, similarly to me, feel that same affinity with this time of year. And spooky season just kind of, for me, I start to feel the whispers of it sort of towards the end of July even, and then throughout August, which is my birthday month. I'm a Leo sun, but I have a Scorpio rising, so I feel like I very much come alive when it's the fall equinox, and then we have the season of the witch. And each year since I've had my channel, I've celebrated in different ways and shared certain things and not shared other things, and I love that. But this year I really wanted to share some fiction books that I've been reading, because a lot more I've been trying to read fiction, because I often find myself in my life, I push myself to read a lot of non-fiction, and I did this at university and wouldn't allow myself to read fiction unless it was a classic. And you know, there are still tons of classics that I haven't read that I don't really necessarily want to read. I do want to read them, but they're not like the ones that were like at the top of my list, and so maybe they're for another day, you know. And I've still got hundreds and hundreds of non-fiction, magical, witchy, folklore, occult books to read that I'm continuing to read, that I'm halfway through, or I've started, or I'm nearly at the end of. You know, I usually have a number of books on the go, but I'm trying to be kinder to myself with now 2 chronic illnesses, diagnosed this year with CFS and last year with fibromyalgia, which also is very much, it comes together with chronic fatigue syndrome. But like trying to be so much kinder to myself with these things, and just knowing myself and knowing how much I love fall or autumn, and just allowing myself to be romanticized by this time of year and to feel special within it, and to hold myself and to hold every moment as sacred, to, you know, really, yeah, romanticize my life, but not in a kind of I need to buy things way, although there are things that I've bought here, some of them secondhand, which is good, but more of a like seeing where I am in my body in every moment, and just like feeling into that and allowing space for things to move through, and practicing energy techniques and things for those feelings, residual feelings, or, you know, sticky things, icky things, to kind of progress through and move through, keeping my body moving as much as I can, you know, with my chronic pain and chronic fatigue, and as well as, you know, juggling work and life balance with kids and everything. And I just feel like reading fiction for me is such a salve, and I like to read fiction in the actual novel form. So I don't do Kindle very well. I don't like reading things on a screen, but I love books, and I've got a ton here, but I also like audio books. And there have been a few cases where something's been like free and I've given it a go and I've really enjoyed it, or, you know, on Audible when they do free things, so I've given like certain fiction books a go when they've been free, or like they've been on sale and I've like, oh, and then I've just gotten obsessed. So that's kind of been fun as well, and I kind of like to have one and then the other. And occasionally with certain books I'll have them on both audiobook and in a paperback in case, you know, I want to read it this time, or then I want to listen to the chapter, you know. So I allow myself that, because also when you're driving around, you know, you're doing things, you're taking the dog for a walk, you know, I often like to listen to an audiobook or something, and so to have that is really, really nice. And it's just allowing myself to sort of sink into the season and really romance myself, and not being judgy with the books either. So, you know, about the quality of the writing or the, you know, the fiction, or whether it's, you know, if it's raunchy or anything, like fine, like as long as it's feeding my soul, that's all I care about. So I'll tell you about the book that I first started reading this autumn. It is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and I absolutely adored this book. So this is a 1 million copy best-selling series, and I'm sure many of you have already read this book. I'm sure many of you have read lots of these books already, so this is not new, but this is what is on my to-be-read pile, or what I'm currently reading. So it says, Elspeth needs a monster, the monster might be her. This is a tale of a kingdom of blunder, and it is shrouded in a mist that makes people sick. And when people get the sickness, they then have a magic that takes something from them as well. It has a cost. But in addition to that, the kingdom now cracks down on people who get sick, and there's kind of like a not a purge, but they sort of send people who get sick off into the mist, so they, I guess, exile them. It's sort of an adventure tale. It's very gripping. There's a monster living inside her since she got sick, and there's all the background who this monster is, the nightmare. She calls him the nightmare. And there's also spirits in the woodlands, and there was once a shepherd king who created these magical cards for people to wield the magic from the kingdom, from the spirits of the woodlands. And then there is a highwayman that she meets, and they end up in, it says, she is thrust into a world of shadow and deception. Together they embark on a dangerous quest to cure the town of Blunder from the dark magic infecting it. As the stakes heighten and their undeniable attraction intensifies, Elspeth is forced to face her darkest secret yet. The nightmare is slowly, darkly taking over her mind. So this is so good, and I've loved this. And today I went shopping with my daughter, and I picked up 2 Twisted Crowns, which is the next in the series. So this is Rachel Gillig again. This one is a hardback, and it is stunning. Like, oh, here we go, my darling girl, he whispered to me. The end of all things, the last page of our story. So you can see it's like got beautiful, oh, it's just stunning. And then there's like cards on the inside. You can see the cards from the story. And I've actually like searched online for like fan art, and there's lots of fan art, and people have made different versions of the cards on Etsy, so you can buy copies of the cards. And I really enjoyed the first book, and I'm very excited for the second book. This isn't out yet in paperback. The next thing I got today is this beautiful Nikita Gill tome, and it's Hecate, the Witch, signed and exclusive edition, which is extremely exciting. So this was from Waterstones. So it's been signed by Nikita Gill, which is very exciting as well. A story is a powerful thing. It says, an electrifying and engaging retelling of the life of the Greek goddess Hecate, child of war turned all-powerful goddess of witchcraft and necromancy. And it's poetry. Born into a world of fire, godlin Hecate has never known safety. So it explains her story. Ooh, that's beautiful. So I'm really going to enjoy this. I think it's been a while since I've read something cover to cover that was poetry. I always like to dip in and out of poetry, but this is a really beautiful way to read a story, and I think it's just also going to be fantastic for working with Hecate as well. I've worked with Hecate for a number of years now, but she's never been like the main focus of my practice. She's always come in and out of my practice. But yeah, I've known her for most of my life really, because I met her when I was young. When I first was studying Macbeth is when I first learnt about Hecate, and we studied various different gods in mythology at school. I knew about Hecate from that perspective, and then it was later on in my practice that she came through. And then, you know, since my kids have been born, occasionally she'll come in and out for different things. Definitely working a lot of very powerful magic in the world at the moment, and she's really coming through for a lot of people very strongly. And I've got a lot to say about Hecate and the connections I've had with her, and how I feel it moves in comparison to, say, the connections I have with the Morrigan and with Lilith. Because whilst Hecate has never been my sort of main deity who I work with, she's so present to a point where if I needed her at any point, I know she'd come in. Because Morrigan is someone who sort of like leaves you to it. I'm not saying that Hecate spoon feeds you at all, it's just more that she's quite patient, I think. Patient and steady and present, and that's how I've experienced her energy. Whereas Lilith's energy is a lot more like forceful and aggressive and fiery, but not in a like frightening way, but more in a just intense, fast way. So I can explain that, hopefully I can explain that a little bit better when I do eventually do a video about it. But now I'm very excited about reading this one. If anyone is interested what I'm drinking, by the way, I'm drinking a normal English breakfast tea. So it's a normal tea bag, and then I've added the organic vanilla chai from Pucca, and then I add some milk, and it's so good. It just makes like a normal cup of tea so warming and delicious. Yum. It's become like my little ritual for the afternoons. So next up, I'm going to share a book that I started listening to on Audible because it was like £2 in the sale, and then I was obsessed. So the book is The Crimson Moth by Christian Sicarelli, and I've already put it in my archive because I've listened to it already, and I was absolutely obsessed with it. So now I am halfway through listening to The Rebel Witch, which is the second, and it's also so good. It's a lot racier than One Dark Window, but it's really gripping. Fall in love with this ultimate enemies to lovers fantasy. The Crimson Moth essentially tells the tale of Rune, who is a witch, and she's being hunted currently. In her past, she had a grandmother who was also a witch. The way that they used their magic was by using their own blood, and I will give a warning, there is some form of self-harm in the magic, because a lot of the witches do cut themselves to get blood. So I will just give that disclaimer, but it's not framed as self-harm in the book, but I will just mention that. Rune is being hunted now by the current in power regime, but there was an uprising against the reign of witches, where there was a witch queen and her sisters who were questionable and evil, and now Rune is trying to rescue witches, and there's a witch hunter, and she meets this witch hunter, and there's a whole enemies to lovers kind of narrative, and that's still going on in the second book. So it's very gripping, and there's lots of things that come out, and it's very exciting. It keeps you gripped, so I would definitely recommend if you're interested, but it's, yeah, it's a little bit racier. So then a couple of other books that I got this year from the bookstore at different times, I will add. I do feel like now I'm probably done now. But so this one is Leigh Bardugo, The Familiar, and I don't know anything about this other than what I've read on the back. It says #1 best-selling author. I've not read anything by Leigh Bardugo before, but I know they've got a lot of other books. So this is A Woman's Ambition Can Prove Deadly. In a shabby house in the new capital of Madrid, a lowly kitchen servant hides a gift for little miracles. When her employer discovers Lucia's secret talent, she demands that the scullion perform her illusions to win over her royal court. Determined to forge a better path for herself, Lucia plunges into a world of power-hungry nobility, desperate kings, holy men, and hucksters, where the lines between magic, science, and fraud blur. With the pyres of the Inquisition burning, she must use every bit of her wit and will to win fame and hide the truth of her ancestry, even if that means enlisting the help of the notorious Gillian Santagel, an embittered immortal familiar whose own secrets could doom them both. So this looks very, very intriguing. I'm very excited for this one. Next up, I've had this on my list for a long time, is The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and again, very highly praised. It says, in 1893, there was no such thing as witches. They used to be, in the wild, dark days before the burnings began, but now witching is nothing but tidy charms and nursery rhymes. If the modern woman wants any measure of power, she must find it at the ballot box. But when the Eastwood sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna, join the suffragettes of New Salem, they begin to pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches' movement. Stalked by shadows and sickness, hunted by forces who will not suffer a witch to vote, and perhaps not even to live, the sisters will need to delve into the oldest magics, draw new alliances, and heal the bond between them if they want to survive. There's no such thing as witches, but there will be. So this, again, also sounds so cool, and yeah, just very, obviously they're all witchy coded, aren't they? So just perfect. Next up is The Familiars. So again, I've just seen this a lot and thought this looks fantastic. And this is a Sunday Times bestseller by Stacey Halls. In a time of suspicion and accusation, to be a woman is the greatest risk of all. Lancashire, 1612. Fleetwood Shuttleworth is 17 years old, married and pregnant for the 4th time, but as a mistress at Gawthorpe Hall, she still has no living child, and her husband Richard is anxious for an heir. Then she crosses paths by chance with Alice Gray, a young midwife who promises to help her give birth to a healthy baby. When Alice is drawn into the witchcraft accusations that are sweeping northwest, Fleetwood risks everything by trying to help her. As the legendary Pendle witch trials approach and Fleetwood's stomach continues to grow, time is running out and both their lives are at stake. Again, just very excited. And then I couldn't resist. So I've had this on my list since last year. This is Lucy Undying. I have heard some mixed reviews about this, but I am obsessed with Dracula. Last year I read Dracul by Dacre Stoker and talked a bit about that in some of my videos last year and absolutely loved it. And I also read Dracula again itself because I absolutely love that book. But this one is about Lucy and what happens to her after Dracula turns her. So it says, Dracula changed her, love will transform her. In this epic and seductive Gothic fantasy, a vampire escapes the thrall of Dracula and embarks on her own search for self-discovery and true love, from the #1 New York Times bestseller of Hyde. So yeah, I'm very excited. She goes to London. I believe she meets a charming friend. Yeah, I'm excited about this, and I believe it's a sapphic fantasy kind of horror romance, and I'm here for it. And to be honest, I've seen another one that looks absolutely amazing. That's another like sapphic vampire horror romance, and I'm just very excited to read this so I can read that, but there's so much on my list here, so yeah, there's more to come. I saw this one on Darling Desi's recent video and couldn't resist because it's got tarot in it basically, but this Arcana Academy by Elise Ganova. Magical from nail-biting beginning to shocking end, says Danielle L. Jensen. Love me, hate me, but only look at me like my existence sets you on fire. So it says Clara Greyswood has survived the underworld of Eclipse City through thievery, luck, and a whole lot of illegal magic. After a job goes awry, Clara is sentenced to a lifetime in prison for inking tarot cards, a rare power reserved for practitioners at the elite Arcana Academy. Just when it seems her luck has run dry, the Academy's enigmatic headmaster, Prince Khalees, offers her an escape for a price. Khalees believes that Clara is the perfect tool to help him steal a tarot card from the king and use it to recreate an all-powerful card long lost to time. In order to conceal her identity and keep her close, Khalees brings Clara to Arcana Academy, introducing her as the newest first-year student and his bride-to-be. Thrust into a world of arcane magic and royal intrigue, where one misstep will send her back to prison or worse, Clara finds that the prince she swore to hate may not be what he seems. But can she risk giving him power over the world and her heart, or will she take it for herself? This just sounds so gripping. So, having said that, there are a number of other books that I still do want to pick up. Like I said, I mean, the one that's just on the tip of my tongue is Catabasis. I'm seeing that everywhere at the moment. There's an Aphrodite book that looks amazing. There's Sirens that I want to read from the same author of Wayward, which I read last year and loved. There, I'm sure, are going to be many more books as well that I want to read. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through all of these all at once, but I'm just going to work my way through them. And I think I'm going to just say I'm allowed to read fiction whenever I want, so that I can read as much fiction as makes me happy and not like restrict myself at all just because I'm trying to read non-fiction as well. Finally, I've got some secondhand books as well. So first of all, I finally got A Court of Thorns and Roses. So ACOTAR, right, I saw that this was for free last year on Audible. I got it, listened to about half of it, but I didn't finish it. And so I thought, I need to actually commit to it because I wasn't really that bothered and I wasn't listening to it enough. So I really thought if I actually read this, I'm probably just going to get a lot more out of it. So I thought I'll just give it a go because it was secondhand. Yeah, I just thought I need to read it. I know it's all fairy, P-O-R-N and all that, but I think, yeah, I just need to read it. And then I also started listening to A Touch of Darkness when Persephone came through for me, and I quite enjoyed it, but then again, I think it ran out before I was able to get very far into it. But I thought, you know, I want to read this because I want to be absorbed into a story with Persephone in it. I want to work through the Hades and Persephone kind of stories together. This is Scarlet St. Clair. And then, because I've never read A Discovery of Witches either, I thought I would read this. I got all three secondhand. So I believe that it's Discovery of Witches, then The Book of Life, then The Shadow of Night. So these are probably going to take me some time and I'm not in a rush to read these either. I feel like these secondhand books, I'm not in such a rush to read because they're not like brand new and I'm like all excited about the brand new ones. I know that sounds awful. I do want to read these, but it's like I've known for a while I wanted to read these and it's just finally getting them. I have a few other books that I want to read as well, like I've said, and eventually I'd love to do like a whole book list, but I feel like there's always new books coming out, so there's always going to be new books to add. But I did read some great books last year that I was talking about around this time. But I think I'm just going to probably every so often do witchy, gothic, literature, fiction, book hauls and sharing like reviews or like this is what I've been reading, current reading, this is what I've recently got kind of thing, because it's just such a passion for me. It always has been. So it's something that I want to do more of, considering I read so much non-fiction. I want it to give me a bit of that like spark back, do you know what I mean? Because it fills me with such joy. So that's all the books for today. Would love to hear like from your perspective like what you think works really well on YouTube videos when people are sharing books. Like if people share roundups, what they've read each month along with like card decks and things like that, if that kind of thing is the way to do it, or if just every so often, you know, having a book video is a good thing. Like what, if you have thoughts, if you don't have any thoughts, that's also cool, but if you have any thoughts, let me know. Let me know what you're reading. I'd love to hear any other recommendations. I'm sure I'm all over it because I've been just like obsessively finding out all the books that I want to read. There are just so many, and our Waterstones is so lush. So again, like, I just love going there. It's just so wonderful, and not spending so much money on Amazon and things. It's just really nice. So I would highly encourage you to use your local bookshops as well when you are purchasing books or ordering books in. You know, most bookshops, you can ask them to order a book in for you and then go and pay for it when it comes in. Or Waterstones is really good. They'll order it in, you don't necessarily have to buy it. You can then decide whether or not you want to buy it when they've ordered it in, which is nice. So I'm going to leave that there and wish you a beautiful autumn, and of course I'll see you again soon. I really hope that you are well and safe and looking after yourselves. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe, hype if you will. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you think of them, and who your favourite characters are. I want to hear all the, you know, I want to get into that. Oh, I've also, oh my gosh, segue, got so into like, colouring books that are themed by books, and there aren't that many at the moment, but I'm really hoping there'll be more. I know there's the Court of Thorns and Roses ones, and like Iron Wing, is it? But I really want more colouring books that are like for specific novels. That would be so cool. So yeah, loving that. Loving the adult colouring. I got some Halloween colouring books actually that are just like vintage kind of pumpkins and things like that, and it's just so cute to colour in the evening, relax and things. So anyway, I will leave it there. Like I said, like, comment, share, subscribe, hype if you will. I have links below to Instagram, Patreon, an old TikTok page, the thanks button below, PayPal, buy me a coffee, Ko-fi, all of that stuff. If you wish to support me, that is just an additional bonus thing that you can do. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for saying hello and leaving me like a little star emoji, if you will. And I hope that you take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video really soon. All right, many blessings. Mwah. Bye.